It's day 61 of 118 days with the Tudors, and today is 1545. And in this year, Henry's favourite warship, the Mary Rose, sinks in the Solent. Monarchs tended to, if they needed a ship for war, to kind of borrow from the merchants as and when they needed, because maintaining large warships just until they were needed was expensive. So Henry VII only actually had 5 warships by the end of his reign. Henry, however, had up to 53, somewhere between 40 and 53 by the end of his reign. So we know Henry loves war. He also loves ships, and he also loves guns. So his warships were packed with cannons and kind of lighter pieces on the upper decks. However, while he may have had lots of ships, it's Mary Rose who's remembered as being his favourite ship, and kind of coincidentally they have a similar lifespan. If you think Henry VIII was king from 1509 to 1547, the Mary Rose was in operation from 1510 until 1545. So this ship has kind of been with him for his whole reign. And it's often thought that it was named Mary after his sister Mary, but actually there's not really evidence for that, and it was very, very common at this time for ships to be named after saints and biblical figures. So it's much more likely that it's named Mary after Virgin Mary, and then you've got the rose as the Tudor rose, much like with Peter Pomegranate, married to Catherine of Aragon at this time, and her symbol was a pomegranate. So these boats are coming as a pair. He's newly married. He still likes Catherine at this point. So he's got this pair of ships being built. But Mary Rose is his favourite. The Mary Rose was also much bigger than Peter Pomegranate. The Mary Rose was 600 tons, whereas Peter Pomegranate was 450. So obviously Henry's favourite is going to be big. And they're both obviously designed to carry some guns. And 6 months after the launch of Mary Rose, we see it as part of Henry's campaign in 1512 against France. And if you remember back, we had a video on that. But if you want to find out about the disastrous first campaign in France, check out 1512. From 1536, 1537, the Mary Rose was a common feature of the Thames, but with its mast down. As tensions start to rise, Henry is reinforcing these ships. 1545, England are at war with France, and they're using their navy as part of this. And the Mary Rose is involved, and the captain and vice admiral is a man called George Carew. So from on the 12th of July, Henry is watching from Southsea Castle as the battle progresses. Towards the afternoon, as the wind rose, the English led out their ships, including the Mary Rose. And here we have a report written to Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, from an eyewitness. And it says the following. Towards the evening, through misfortune and carelessness, the ship of the Vice Admiral George Carew, that's the Mary Rose, foundered, and all hands on board, to the number of about 500, drowned, with the exception of 5 or 30 servants, sailor and the like, who escaped. I made inquiries of one of the survivors, a Fleming, how the ship perished, and he told me the disaster was caused by their not having closed the lowest row of gun ports on one side of the ship. Having fired the guns on that side, she was turning in order to fire from her other, when the wind caught her sails so strongly as to heel her over and plunged her open gun ports beneath the water, which floored her and sank her. They say, however, they can recover the ship and guns. And what a conclusion there. In case you missed that, 500 drowned on the Mary Rose, but it's all right. They said they're going to be able to get the guns back. So that's it. That's the end of Henry's favourite ship, and they do try to bring it up again, and they don't manage it. The ship does eventually get raised, but not until 1982, and you can actually visit it in Portsmouth in the museum. Obviously, it is a wreck of a ship, and it has to be very well looked after. In my previous life as a primary school teacher, I used to take classes there sometimes to see it, and it is amazing because it's in this very dark room and it's very atmospheric. And obviously they've retrieved all sorts of items from this ship that are just fascinating. My favourite are all the bits and pieces they found of the ship's barber surgeon. Henry's lost his favourite toy, but more importantly, 500 people drowned. But they weren't too worried because they could hopefully get the guns back. Tudor England for you. Okay, I will see you tomorrow for 1546. We've had a little bit of a reprieve from the wives today because actually Catherine's doing all right in the moment. Catherine Parr. She's in a little bit hot water tomorrow though. See you then.